My creative process begins with a bag of clay. I like to use a type of porcelain called Southern White, and it vies to this really beautiful, pure, bright white colour. And I think there's something so classic about the combination of that white porcelain and sterling silver that is just so simple and beautiful. And I think I'm drawn to that because in person I'm all about colour. I'm all about vibrancy and a kind of fun, energetic chaos, and this is almost the exact opposite of that. There's a real skill in making something simple, something that looks like it's absolutely easy and effortless, and often it's really not. There's a lot of work to make something look that way. Once I've removed the clay from the bag, I wedge the clay. So wedging is a process of kneading the clay to remove any air bubbles and also to make sure that it's a smooth consistency. And the consistency I need the porcelain to be is quite firm and therefore quite dry. Because I hand build rather than throw on a potter's wheel, it needs to be fairly strong. So once I've kneaded the clay on a wooden surface to absorb some of the moisture, I roll the clay out. I use knitting needles to make sure the clay is an even thickness. So by rolling the rolling pin along the knitting needles, it makes sure that it's even in thickness throughout the area of the clay. I like to imprint an image into the clay, so often I'll do this using stamps, or alternatively I'll carve a design into lino and then use that as my own custom stamp to imprint one of my own illustrations into the clay. My creative journey began with ceramics, and I studied at Edinburgh College of Art, and it's transitioned through lots of different mediums, textiles and timber and paper, and now I'm back to ceramics again. There can be an emphasis in the world of ceramics about refining your processes over a really long period of time, so people can spend a lifetime developing one type of glaze, but for me the material is just a way to tell a story. It's not the story itself. So whatever I'm working on, it's about finding the appropriate material to tell that story. I don't have the luxury of having a beautiful creative space, a gorgeous studio, but sometimes I think that actually works for me because my creative life and my real life, they're not separate and distinct, they're one and the same. So to be able to have materials on hand in my home and just be able to grab something and work on something when I feel inspired is really important to me. Once I've pushed an image into the clay, I like to let it dry in the air for a little while so it becomes a little bit firmer and more resilient. I'll then cut the clay. Now, you can get really lost in buying beautiful, expensive supplies when you're a creative person, but the tools that I've found work the best for me are ones that I find just around the house. So they might be repurposed from something else or something that I've found in the bottom of the kitchen drawer. So why is handmade important? Well, it's not to everybody, and that's fine. But to me, there's something about the process of creating and refining and producing something that has so much of my own time and energy and thought process gone into it that I just think it's a really valuable way of creating products.